Um, First, I just want to welcome everyone who is here live or who is going to watch the replay. I'm so excited to connect with you guys. And I kind of wanted, I know in a lot of my workshops and stuff, I forget to like introduce myself. So I was like, okay, this time I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to remember to do that. So I am Sophie Fraboda, and I am a spiritual life coach, a transformation specialist, and I call myself a modern day healer by using different techniques that aren't typically well known. So for instance, like I don't use my hands to heal. I use words and I use the voice box to heal. And it's a collaborative experience. I teach people how to do healing work, get the energy out of their body and reprogram with new data. So that's kind of why I call myself a modern healer. But some people might be curious how I got into this work. And so I wanted to share a little bit about my story, which really kind of leads us into what we're going to talk about today. So when I was a kid growing up, I was like terrified of everything. I was scared of the dark. I was scared to walk on gravel. I was struggling so much with life. And I didn't know I had a spiritual gift. I just thought I was a wackadoo that couldn't handle life. I struggled. I picked up energy. I would go to the grocery store and feel like really excited and then really sad. And in my adolescence, I didn't know what was wrong with me. I thought something was really wrong with me. And it wasn't until long after that that I realized that these were actually gifts that I had. I just didn't know how to use. However, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, is some of the gifts that we have can really be messy when you don't know you have them. So the way that my mess and my distractions kind of came upon me was that I was so sensitive and I was this empath that was picking up all this energy. And so then I turned to food to try to turn it off. So I would turn to food to push it down, push it down, push it down. And then I would throw it up. So I used bulimia as a distraction and as a, I like to call it disorder. I was starting to get out of order because I didn't know how to live in order. And then from that, I was also drinking and doing drugs in college, and I was just getting more and more imbalanced and starting to feel very depressed and anxious. And then my life kind of came to a head. So in 2001, which was 18 years ago, I decided, I was in Massachusetts for college, and I decided to come home for a weekend for Easter. And I went to church that day with my parents, and they preached on the starting new beginnings. And I thought, man, I could really use a new beginning. But I had no idea what was in store later that day. And I believe in divine intervention. I believe that does happen, but I believe it's a very subtle nudge. And so a lot of people don't necessarily think that can happen or that can happen to them because it's so subtle and behind the scenes. However, that day, Easter 2001, I had a divine intervention. So after church, I was sitting on the back porch talking to my mom, and all of a sudden, I just like confessed. I was like, I'm bulimic, I'm doing drugs, I'm throwing up my food, I'm drinking and driving, I am a hot mess. And my mom was a very spiritual caretaker who really allowed me to make mistakes and learn from the world. But that day was different. And her guidance, I really believe, kind of saved my life. So she leaned forward and she told me, okay, you have 3 weeks of school left. You need to go back to school, but I don't want you to throw up any of your food, drink any alcohol, or do any drugs. Just for 3 weeks, can you make that commitment? And I was always so word sensitive that I knew if I said yes, I meant it. Or if I said no, I meant it. Because that's part of being empathic, is that you can really feel the energy around words and things. So I said, yes, I will make this commitment to you. Well, that next week, I ended up being a designated driver, and one of my friends was killed in a car accident. And sitting at her funeral, I really felt like this divine presence saying, you've been given a second chance. What are you going to do with it? So I was like, oh boy. I ended up coming home from school, going into therapy, having mild improvements, and then I found life coaching. And within, I was in therapy for like 2 years probably, and I found life coaching, and within 6 months, my life was dramatically changing. And I can remember calling out to God and being like, okay, God, if you can really help me put my life back together, I will dedicate my life to helping others do the same. And so that's why I'm here today, because God, the divine, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter to me. I believe in spiritual respect. However you have that connection, is the language you use is yours. But I do use a lot of different terms for that. And God really showed up for me in my heart and realigned me. And then it's been my work and my journey to help get exfoliate all those internal wounds, learn about my gifts, and get into vibrational alignment with my soul purpose, who I really am, and figure out how to really live that on the earth. So I know that was like kind of a long story, but I wanted to give you guys a little background on why I do what I do, and how passionate I am about it, and how much I believe in change, and how much I know that you can become that which you are aching for inside. But you might have to do work, and I'm not saying it's going to be easy. So that's part of why I call myself a transformation specialist, because I believe in transformation. I believe in metamorphosis. I've had it myself, and I've seen it in others. However, it does not come without salt water, the sweat, the tears, and getting cleansed by the ocean. So it is possible. And I do believe that you can completely and totally have the life that you want, which kind of leads us into our topic here, the 10 spiritual gifts. So there's like a lot of gifts that we can have, but I've grouped them into 3 groups, and there are 10 different items in those 3 groups. I have working titles for right now that I'm just kind of playing with as I work with people and kind of see how the energy is moving around it. But for just the sake of today, to just kind of group these 3 gifts, I'm going to call it the titles, the gifts, and then the way, just so that there's like these 3 groups. Now, the first group, the title, this is where I have found that most people will kind of fall into one of these 3 titles. And this is kind of what you end up calling yourself, but it's a gift as well. So in that first category, we have the healer, the teacher, or the coach/guide. So a lot of people will say, yeah, I'm definitely a healer, but I don't know what to do with that. I don't know, my hands heat up when somebody walks by that I want to put my hands on their back. I'm at the grocery store. It's totally inappropriate. I can't do that. That's probably the gift of being a healer, which they then really can turn into a career. Or a teacher may find themselves gravitating towards friendships where they're constantly like reading books and then talking about this thing they learned and teaching, and they just find themselves in relationships and conversations where they continually transfer information from one to another. And then you have a coach or a guide, and that is somebody who really is like next to you on the journey. So a teacher may be somebody that you could meet a teacher at on the street and have a quick conversation. They could teach you something and then they're gone. But a coach or a guide sticks around for a little bit longer. And that ache in the heart would be like wanting to really help somebody, wanting to take them from point A to point B. You can also be a couple of those. I have a lot of people in my program that are coaches and healers, and they're creating this incredible blend of those gifts. So that's the first group: healer, teacher, or coach/guide. Okay, so then we're going to go into the gift section. And the gift section is basically how spirit speaks and moves through you. And So we have the clairs, right? We have clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, and those are just the ways that you interpret spiritual information, whether it's through vision, through hearing, through sensing. I think there's up to 7 different clairs, but I group that as just one, so that you can figure out what your clair is. I believe that you'll have kind of a strong one that develops rather quickly, and then you'll have a kind of a passive one that sits behind the gates, kind of, but it's definitely there. So for instance, I'm clairaudient, so I hear spirit, I hear information, and then I share that verbally. But I'm also a little clairsentient, so I can like pick up physical information in my body regarding what's going on with somebody. I can almost feel it, and I'm in the process of learning that language and understanding the symbology of what things mean, and it's all just trial and error. So that's kind of my dominant, and then my passive. So we have the clairs. So I encourage people to really kind of look into, you know, how is spirit guiding you, showing up? Do you hear it? I've heard some people that are clairvoyant say they see it written in cursive. So they almost see it and then read it. Other clairvoyants will say that they almost see like a movie playing out in a flash. All of a sudden, it's like they can see this 500-word story in an image. That would be an example of clairvoyancy. So, and if you want to look deeper into the clairs, you can just Google, you know, what are all the clair gifts? Clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, and I think there's like 4 others. So looking into that and seeing how spirit works with you there. And then the other 2 in this category of the gift. So we have the clairs, that's one. The next one is psychic. And then the last one in this group would be a mediumship. So a psychic basically is going to be able to read spiritual information in one's aura or one's spirit. But then there's an interpretation process that goes on. So that's where it can get a little wanky. There are some really, really powerful psychics out there that have learned to use their gift to really serve others. And if that's showing up for you and you have that gift, developing that and learning how to develop that in an ethical, balanced way is really important. And then we have mediumship. And mediumship would be those who are communicating with the other side, whether that is ascended masters and they're channeling, or whether that is, so I kind of group channeler into that mediumship space because it's really working with spirit on kind of just over the veil. It could also be them channeling souls that have transitioned and bringing back messages. I have a great friend who is a healing medium, and she only will communicate messages that she feels have a healing vibration attached to them. So she won't translate anything if it's just information. She's looking for a transformation that happens as that information crosses the veil through her voice box. And she's very ethical with that. So she makes a lot of decisions on what to tell and what not to tell. And, you know, I know there's some people that wrote into this saying that was their gift and they want to develop it. And there's a lot of great teachers. I would really encourage you to follow your heart if you're looking for a teacher to help develop your psychic mediumship or any of your clairs, because it's such a powerful tool that you can use everywhere, in everything, in every job, in every relationship. It's just like a little navigation system that's really wonderful. So that would be the second group. We have the clairs, we have the psychic gift, and then mediumship that fall into our gifts. And I believe that, you know, we kind of have one of each of these. There could be people walking around that are all of them. I absolutely believe that, because gifts are not limited. It's not just like, oh, I'm just a basketball player. You know, a lot of athletes can play basketball, football, baseball, volleyball. They can do it all because they understand how to use their tool, which is their body. So as you get more spiritually aligned, a lot of these gifts might start to open up to you. And then you want to have a teacher that can really help put you into understanding how to use them. Then we have the last group, and that is 4 different, I'm calling them the way. It's like the way that you end up being in the world or in a project. And again, there could be many more than these, but just to make this information, you know, with bite-size approach, I'm picking 4. And these are the 4 that I see walk in and out of my office and my programs the most. So the first one is we have empaths. Empaths, they can feel the energy a lot of the time. When they don't understand they're empathic, they feel like an energetic sponge. That energetic sponge can make them shut down socially, or even in their career. So understanding if you're empathic and how to use that, it can be a life-changing awareness. Then we have visionary. Now a visionary, I kind of call it like they have the 40,000 foot view. So, you know, when you're on an airplane and you look down, you're like, oh my gosh, like it's so teeny down there and you can see so much area. Visionaries tend to see the end result of a concept. And so they think very big and very beyond. And it's really important that visionaries partner with a strategist, somebody that's very grounded, that can help them create detail and action items that are bite-sized in their week. So over the course of a year, they can actually start creating this kind of movement that they're seeking to create. So then we have visionary. The next one is leader. Now, a leader is naturally going to feel like they just tend to rise up. If it's maybe they're in school, they notice that they kind of, you know, say, okay, everyone, let me collect the emails. Or if they're in like a community project of some sort, they kind of start to step up and say, hey, everyone, let's start with the trash bags over here to pick up the trash. They just kind of gravitate towards that leadership role of moving people towards a goal. So natural born leaders really rise up in that space, and help direct energy towards a goal, if we could call it that. Yeah. And so that's a leader. And then the last one is a reporter. Now, a reporter is very interesting because a reporter may be somebody on their spiritual path who is starting to feel like they want to interview a bunch of people. So they want to create a documentary about a concept, and then they fly around the world interviewing different people on that concept, and they create a documentary about what is spiritual awakening. And they talk to this guy from Budapest and this guy from Alaska and this woman that's a healer in Costa Rica, and they get all these different viewpoints and create kind of a message from that. But they do a lot of interviewing. And so if you're a reporter, you're definitely going to want to know that and line yourself up with interviewees so that you can collect your information and then create your message through that portal, because that's what's going to feel the most natural and best to you. So just in this group that I just talked about, the way, we have the empath, the visionary, the leader, and then the reporter. So knowing, that's kind of why I call it, it's the way that this kind of comes out of you. So if you are a teacher that is a little bit clairvoyant and you happen to be a reporter, you might find yourself, creating classes. And in the classes, you bring in other teachers to interview, and they do like a meditation or they show this creative project. That would be the reporter coming out. And the clairvoyancy might, come into that and help direct lesson plans. But that's why I separated them into 3 groups, so we could really kind of see what is being threaded through you as your spiritual gift, and how that information is coming through you. That's very important to ask before you ask this question that's so heavy that so many people ask, what is my purpose? It's like, I try to stay away from that question. And it's typically locks people up. It doesn't open them up. So if we can kind of like go behind the scenes and be like, well, how is spirit threading through me information, and what are my gifts, and what am I really good at, and what am I drawn to? And we can start to see from behind the scenes then we can kind of put some things together and we can start defining your life's work. And typically that feels a lot lighter to people than just, you know, saying, oh, this is my purpose. And I think, you know, because we have to define it. It's not something we find, it's something we define. So those are kind of the different gifts and how they can be wakening up in you. And if you have any of these and you feel like they're a curse or they're a problem, or you're a sponge for energy, or you get scared at night, or you feel like you see things, I just encourage you to know that you're not crazy. Because at the beginning of an awakening, it can make you feel like that. You can feel like, holy crap, what is happening to me? No one else understands this. Is everything okay? And I would encourage you to reach out to spiritual people, because spiritual people are not gonna think you're weird. Now, as a side note, if you do have a background with mental illness, you definitely want to have your team in place, you know, but maybe still have a spiritual person that you can talk to that might give you a totally different perspective. You know, when I got my master's in transpersonal psychology, they had this really big concept of what mental illness really was, and that it really was a spiritual awakening. However, the way we intervene in it and shut it down really makes it something that then almost like rebels against the chemical intervention and all this stuff. And that's a totally different subject. But I encourage you to know that if you have these gifts and you don't know what is happening to you, reach out to somebody who can help you. There's a lot of books on Amazon. There's a lot of, I'm sure, teachers popping up in your area, wherever you are on the globe, that can guide you and help you. And if you feel like, oh, well, I can't afford it, well, maybe you find someone you want to work with, ask them if they'll work with you, trade, say you'll rake their leaves, whatever. There is always a way if you think outside of the box. So I really encourage you to define in these categories, you know, how spirit is speaking to you and what's kind of coming through. And yeah, kind of really defining that for yourself, because I think that if you can really define how spirit's working, you're more likely to use it in your job, in your career, in your life's work. And that leads to feeling very different in your life. And that's ultimately what most people want. They want things so that they feel different. But if we just started to feel different, we wouldn't need the thing. That's what we're all looking for, is that key, but that's it. So if we can learn how to feel different without having the thing, we actually enter the space of freedom. So those are your 10 spiritual gifts. I really encourage you guys to seek into them and you know, see what you uncover within yourself. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me, email me, go to my website and contact me. I'm really interested in how this is coming through for you and what's kind of coming up. So please feel free to always reach out to me personally. I am here. I am a normal person that lives in West Palm Beach, Florida. And I'm awakening as well. And that's my company is called Awaken. It's not called Awakened. There's no ED on there. It is in motion. And I hope that I don't stop awakening until the day my spirit goes back to where it came from. So I'm here for you is the point of that long-ended thing. The next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was really explaining the spiritual awakening to friends, so that you feel like you have some idea, like if you're starting to awaken, your tribe might really change over time. You might start drawing in new people while some other people start to get further and further away. Know that this is totally normal and it can be really hard, but it's okay. It's you know, sometimes we need to learn our lessons and look at, you know, if you made somebody mad, yes, look at yourself, look at what's going on there, but also realize that as you know, that saying, you change your vibe, you change your tribe. Well, one of the quickest things that changes your vibe is saying yes to your spiritual path, because your spirit starts to wake up and exfoliate all this wounding and all these vibrations that you no longer need to carry. And that can be unsettling, but there's a lot of support that you can have through that process as well. But just realize that if your friend group does start to change or your family relationships start to change, this is totally normal and it's okay. And you can find your way through it. The next thing I like to say, and you've probably heard me say this before if you've watched any of my workshops, is be a good DJ. And by that, I mean, like, pay attention to your audience. Like, a DJ is not there to have his own dance party. A DJ is there to, you know, get the crowd moving. So if you are going to share something that's going on inside of you, which is really beautiful and sacred, if it's like your favorite song and you know this crowd isn't going to like it, don't play it. Don't tell them. You know, it's that concept, don't cast your pearl before swine. You know, if you have something that's really special and sacred, be a good DJ and look at your crowd. Because if you're about to tell somebody that's really close to you something that's really sacred and they just water it down or gloss over it, it could be very hurtful to you and really make you feel like your experience got watered down. So you want to be very protective of your songs inside and be really aware of the audience in front of you. And then another thing that you can do, like I've had clients that are on a spiritual awakening and they have maybe very religious parents, or they have religious spouse of some sort, or atheist, if that's the case. Anything that they're going down a path and all of a sudden they're no longer seeing eye to eye. If that tends to happen to you, I encourage you just to talk about your experience instead of your beliefs. So rather than talking about the law of attraction and how the law of attraction, you know, like energy draws like energy and and you're talking about this whole concept and somebody's like, whoa, you lost me at law. Are you talking about like attorneys? What's going on here? You might talk about, oh my gosh, I realized the other day I went, you know, to the mall in a really good mood and I attracted so many smiles. Every salesperson was nice to me. Somebody held the door open for me. Somebody paid for my drink at Starbucks. Like, I just had the most incredible experience. Because then you catch someone's attention. Oh, well, that's interesting. So if you say that several times, they might start to say, well, what the heck is she doing? I want to know how to get my cup paid for at Starbucks, or, you know, how to have good experiences, because you're starting to lead by example and not by concept. So for those that have the gift of teacher, this might be the most difficult too, because they're going to want to teach those concepts and be like, this could change your life. But it's just important that you stay mindful of the audience and that you really share your experience of the spirituality rather than the belief around it. Because anytime we start talking about beliefs, we run into some interference and resistance, because there's a lot of baggage around a lot of that stuff for many. But if you start talking about how peaceful you've become, or how your meditation practice has really made you able to stay calm when your boss attacks you at work, it leads you into a different space. You don't necessarily have to say meditation or yoga. You can say, you know, wow, I did this, I went to this exercise class and I left feeling blissed out, and I felt blissed out for 2 hours. And they might say, what exercise class was that? And you're like, oh, it was Vinyasa and it was awesome. You know, and they're like, what the heck is Vinyasa? But now they're asking questions, so they're a little bit more engaged. So I just like to throw those tips in, because a lot of people on this path run into that. You know, especially if they're just living their life and all of a sudden something starts to open up in them, and they are like, ooh, I'm really attracted to this crystal, and they get this crystal in their life, and then they're like, ooh, now I like this crystal too. And then these crystals start to shift their vibrations and things start to open. I have seen that happen to so many people. So I just like to give some real life tips on how to start to kind of deal with that. So that is kind of our 10 gifts that I wanted to talk to you about, and then some tips on how to deal with your spiritual awakening. which leads me into the next thing I wanted to talk about with my own spiritual awakening. And that is this program that I created. I like to tell the story of like how I created this spiritual life coaching training certification program, because it like was a total spirit driven project. And I was getting to a point with my coaching where I was just booked solid. I was getting really drained being an empath. I was going over my weekly limit by like 6 clients a week. And it was just too much. And I just started to feel like, I don't know how much longer I can serve at this level. And that's when Spirit started to say, well, what would you like to see? And I kind of started to think, well, I'd like there to be more people doing this work that can help people really transform as we awaken as a collective. And Spirit was just like, how about creating a spiritual life coach certification and getting more coaches out there? And I was like, okay, let's do it. And I went and I started creating. And then Spirit was like, and you're going to have a retreat attached to it so that this group of women, because it is a program that's just for women at this point, but this group of women can have a bond with each other that you didn't have as a coach. When I started coaching back in 2008, I was alone. I didn't know other coaches. I didn't have people that even really understood what I did. And I just thought how great it would be if I had this cohort of people that like got me and encouraged me and were going through a similar thing. And so I was like, I want to give this program everything that I didn't have as I was developing my career. So I built this retreat that is this really healing transformational experience. I mean, it's session after session of healing and work and worksheets and smudging and crystals and oils and really, doing like a fast tune to your vibration. And then we jump into our 16 weeks of online coursework. So I want to tell you guys about my program, but I made this video, and you might've seen this already, but I love it because I wanted to like capture the presence of a spiritual coach. Now I know that coaching is getting very popular and people are like, oh, I'm an empowerment coach and I'm a life coach and I'm a, what are other coaches? Career coach, or I'm a holistic coach, or whatever people are calling themselves. And that's awesome. That's great. And I'm trying to help people become spiritual coaches, which is a vibration that I feel this video shows. A spiritual life coach is a brand new breed of coaching. Deep, authentic, free, and alive. Spiritual life coaches step into their own greatness and do the work on themselves first, and then teach and guide others to do the work from that place. Spiritual life coaches never teach what they haven't embodied. They live the work, and then they share from that place, and the work supports their entire life. Spiritual life coaches never compare themselves to others. They find their own inner unique greatness and radiate from there. They are a living, breathing example of the real transformation work. If you look at traditional psychology, they will tell you what we're doing is impossible, yet we are witnessing healing and transformation every single day. I am a spiritual life coach. So that was a video that I created that really, I feel like shows the vibration that this is a powerful process. This is not like an easy breezy, we're just going to float on unicorns and rainbows. Although I love a good rainbow and a good unicorn ride. It's like deep and it's transformational. And a big part of being a spiritual life coach in my work and the work I do with others is that you become this work. You become the embodiment of these lessons, of these concepts, so that people, you change your vibration, and then just people working with you in your vibration they get the effect and the result of you holding this space that's higher than where they may be. And by higher, I don't mean better. I just mean a different frequency. But it may be the frequency they need to hop on to get the healing that they need. And you get there by being it. You can't fake energy. Like, energy it's either negative or positive, and there's no like faking it. I mean, we can try. A lot of people do. They'll be like, how are you doing? Oh, I'm good. And you can tell they're in so much pain. But like for an empath, there's no lying. It's all see-through. So teaching these coaches to really become the work is something I'm really passionate about. And like I said, it starts off with a healing retreat in West Palm Beach. And that's 3 days of our live masterclass with me. There's group coaching, meditation, inner journeying. So one of the things we do in our program is I really teach you to go within and meet the different parts of yourself that are like past stale energies or future powerful energies that kind of reside in your chakras. And so we do a lot of journeying, and it's very transformational in terms of confidence and self-love. And we kind of start that at the retreat. All your food is provided. We do a lot of grounding work. There are sound bowl healings. We'll have some yoga. And then the lodging is actually at this place that's in the picture. So the next retreat is in August. It's August 23rd to the 25th. And that is a very hot time in Florida, but this is intentional. Anyone who knows me well knows I'm a huge advocate for Florida the Healer. And I believe the humidity is actually a healing, it's like a healing transportation method. Something about the humidity helps soften and wounds start to unlock. And if you're ready, those wounds can unlock and you create new vibrations. So that is the healing retreat. And then there is our online classroom, which is 16 weeks and 4 different modules. The first module is all about you healing. The second module is about you learning different spiritual techniques and what that really looks like to embody. The third module is about spiritual visioning, and we're not talking about purpose. We're talking about what is, spirit's expression of itself through me in the work that I do that then pays my bills. So it's a really different way of going around that. It's very fascinating what comes through. And then the fourth module is becoming a coach or a healer or enhancing your spiritual business or bringing these tools back to your work. If you're a teacher or you work in corporate America, how you can bring more light into those corporate spaces by being this work. There's also a group coaching session every month. There's coach dialogue training. There's shadowing me coaching a client. There's 52 coaching templates that we go through. And then you practice coaching your cohort in that last module. So you get really comfortable with working with somebody, and this is where you can stutter and mess up and it's okay. And you're still, encouraged and motivated to keep going. And then at the end, you get the status upgrade of calling yourself a certified spiritual life coach. So again, the training includes our weekend retreat and all the food and lodging and sound healings, and then a welcome kit. You get over 30 hours of master coaching with me, and some of that's at the retreat, and then it's through our live coaching sessions and videos that are on your online course training. You get over 16 weeks of training, techniques, applications. Then you also get to share in the sacred tribe. The cohort experience is just something that I just am an honor to be involved in. Like every time I'm part of a cohort, I'm just like, holy crap, how does this happen? How do these people get so close and so open within a day? And it just doesn't fail. It's just this beautiful thing that happens. And then I also interact with you on each and every assignment. I comment on every posting, homework that you do. So we are engaged throughout the entire process. At the end, you're given a lot of coaching scripts, worksheets, templates, downloadable forms, and coaching contracts to get you standing up. You're also taught about tips to build your business if that's something that you want to do. In the fourth module, people can go different directions, and we have different ways of handling all of that. But we will talk about building your business on any budget, how you can really become that which you're aching to become. And we also have a photo shoot at the retreat. So you get a professional headshot or several headshots that you can use professionally to start your practice. And then there's a lot of transformational keys that you will learn, life coaching tools, modalities, spiritual technologies that will really enhance you as a person. And then all the audio recordings. So every week you get a different reprogramming, which is basically what I use to help you build new vibrations on the inside, or meditations or visualizations. So at the end of the week, at the end of the course, you will have over 16 different recordings that you can then use for the rest of your life on reprogramming and transmuting and healing and reconnecting. So that's a powerful experience. So becoming certified basically upgrades your status to now saying you're a certified spiritual life coach. And the total for this is $3,800. We do have limited space, and it is application only. So you do need to apply if you're interested in becoming a life coach. And we do have our early bird. So our early bird is actually valid until Friday. It was through May, so it's valid until Friday. And the cool thing about the early bird is you don't have to make a deposit if you do a payment. So typically our deposit is $1,600 down, and then it would be payments. But if you do the early bird and you get your application in before Friday, you can choose one of these options, and you don't have to do a big deposit. So that is the special that I have for you guys. Basically, you can save up to $600 by getting your application in if this does speak to you. And again, that expires on Friday. So on our website, you'll see these buttons all over. Start your application. You can just press that, and that will take you to your application. Fill it out, submit it. Then you do a 30-minute call with me. We see if you're a good fit for the program, and then we move forward. So I wanted to show you guys this video of our retreat. It's a couple minutes, so hopefully that's okay. But I just loved these ladies and the essence that they exuded, and wanted to share it with you.
Prior to this weekend, I would doubt myself.
Thinking about what I lack rather than what I have.
I've always been afraid of what people will think, if people will take me seriously, if people think I'm crazy.
Hey, my name is Carolyn Sullivan, and I'm taking the Spiritual Life Coaching certification with Sophie.
Hi, I'm Jackie.
My name is Georgie Scover.
My name is Melanie McLeod.
I'm Alejandra Duenas.
My name is Vanessa Hernandez. I came to the retreat and I wanted to share my experience.
This is a journey that you have to take yourself before you can really help and support others in theirs.
No matter how old you are, no matter what you look like, we all deal with the same issues.
After this weekend, I feel that my really intuitive decisions that I feel in my spirit are talking to me and telling me what to do.
There's some beautiful, soulful women here, all of with whom I consider part of my soul tribe now.
I loved making the new friends. I feel like we have a great cohort.
Having a small group of women that are really going after the same purpose of being able to support people in their life journeys.
We can overcome all of these struggles together, and we can help each other out throughout the whole process.
Everything that Sophie was about is just definitely inspiring.
It was extremely therapeutic.
It's really powerful and magical.
Everything was just so gorgeous and meaningful and relaxing and delightful and fun and deep. And
I just think Sophie's very gifted.
You just can't beat it. So I would say everything was fantastic.
I feel that now with this course and with Sophie's help, I can really connect to my true purpose, and I'm excited about that.
This is an experience that I've never ever experienced before, and it's amazing and very powerful, and I would just suggest that you go for it.
It will really change your life, and not only yours, but you'll help change the lives of others as well.
If you're really excited and feel the call, I would heed it.
Take the jump, take the risk. It's really worth it. It's wonderful.
So those were our precious students that are actually in their third module now. And that is basically what we have. So if you feel this calling to, step into the role of a teacher or a healer or a coach or a guide, or you are a visionary and you don't know how to ground that gift, this program could really help you answer a lot of those questions. So if it does call to you, I encourage you to start your application, fill that out, get that in, and just use the code EARLYBIRD on your application, and that will lock in your savings. I'm probably not going to be offering as many discounts as I did last time. So just if you are interested and you want this discount, it does expire on Friday. So I just wanted to share this program with you guys. And I also wanted to open up for questions. So does anyone have a question?
I have a question.
Yes.
So I was curious about how you were able to tell that spirit was talking to you, and how that was different from your mind. Like, do you distinguish a difference? Like, I'm just curious how you unlayered the process of finding out that you even had a gift and what that was. And
Yes, totally. So one of the things that I do in my coaching is I teach you to really calm your mind down, because spirit doesn't really speak through the mind.
Yes.
It's more of like a body and a nudge. So if you have a really active mind, what I encourage you to do is don't think you're going to hear it through the head, but rather start paying attention to the energy in your body. So what I encourage people to do is to start with this technique, and that is listening to yes, no, or wait. So you ask questions to your gut center, your heart center, right in between third and fourth chakra. Like, that's kind of where you direct the energy. And you ask a question that not some, what should I do, spirit? Because that's a little too open-ended. We're going to be listening for a sentence. But spirit, should I go to this party? Yes. You'll feel something, some sort of lift or happy, or think of something that might feel good. Or if it's a no, you'll sink. You'll remember something. You might get a tinge somewhere, or feel a sensation of something. So that's how I encourage people to start, is by listening for the rise of a yes, the fall of a no, or the pause of a wait. So like, if you're really busy and distracted, spirit might say, wait. And that may mean that you just need to clear, have a cup of water, and then ask again. Or it may mean that you got to wait for a week. But asking and sensing into that is kind of how I would encourage you to start, so that you disengage from all that busyness and the talking and the movement of the mind.
That's great. Thank you. That I learned a lot through that. Thank you.
Good. Awesome. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I am here to be a resource and to, really hold that space for healing. And so if you have questions, I'm here. And I just want to thank you so much for watching and showing up. And I guess that's it. Toodaloo.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.